Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Uncut, Dank, Dave Rackier Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, if I could actually say it, Fireball X, God Rockin', Henrik86, Jeronism, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Renee, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, The Flat Earth Sun Moon, and Zodiac Clock App, theflatearthchannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, and Windrider. So thank you very much to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by Righteous Force and 10th Man in G+, and we've got a fair few people in Discord as well, who I'll now hustle off mute, hopefully.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So
Who do we have in Discord?
Maybe Shy Billy, go ahead.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, Discord.
Morning.
So yeah, we'll leave off where we tailed off before I hastily got the show going, so we could carry on the conversation we were having. 10th Man. It's a devastating argument that a lot of our side doesn't fully get. The ones that do get don't fully utilise and end up being drawn into arguments about refraction and things moving relative to the horizon. And the opponents, some of them don't even get the analogy. They literally don't even get the black swan analogy used to describe this proof. Not the example itself, but the analogy. They don't get that. So yeah, we're at a point where we've got to drive this point home that previously we've ended in a draw where I say, there it is, I see it. They say, no, it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a lighthouse from beyond the reified edge of an Earth curve obstruction by way of utilising an R value. Now, that Earth curve edge is something that is physical. Boats are claimed to be going over it. It's got geometry that they measure, horizon dip values that give them their R value, and it's claimed to obstruct things in the distance. It's a physical thing. Well, now, some of the fundies on the other side, who also presumably don't understand the argument or do and are just wankers, say, it's a not actual location. Oh, our argument that it's not a physical sphere edge, that we're not on a sphere, that it's not obstructing things in the distance, that it can often be way off further in the distance, therefore not physical, not obstructing, not having boats go over it. That's the point. But yet we get people saying things like all swans are black by hearing the analogy and not understanding the bloody analogy, let alone the argument.
He got him in the tussie. It's great. Oh, man. They have to take on our argument just to be able to breathe.
It is great. All they do is just backpedal and double speak. Backpedal, double speak.
Sure, but we're at the stage where our own side doesn't recognise that when they backpedal and doublespeak, they don't need to then argue about the backpedaling doublespeak nonsense about refraction when they're talking about looming the horizon above the horizon.
No, all you have to do is show the horizon in front of the looming, which you've done. Game over.
Yeah, first it was the clock tower was looming over the horizon. Now the horizon's looming over the horizon, so the clock tower that's looming over the horizon can loom over the horizon that wasn't looming before.
That's hilarious.
It's too hilarious, actually. It's funny as heck to me. So it goes this way. Clock tower, I see it. No, that's just looming over the horizon where boats go over. That's just a refraction. Now, well, actually, the whole horizon was looming. That's why you're able to see it. So what about the horizon? Well, it's a not actual position now. Yeah, but you said it was something solid that boats would go over. Yeah, well, we changed our mind because you got us with the black swan.
Backpedal.
Yep, it's funny to hear Rumpus squirm like he has been.
Oh yeah. Well, there's no way out of it. It's their math. It's based on the radius of the Earth that they give us, 3959. There's absolutely no wiggle room here. Bye bye, globe.
Exactly. There's no rebuttal. There is no rebuttal to this. It's not like you can just add a bit more refraction as they've been doing and our side's arguing back with it. Like, no. You can loom things back from beyond the edge. But the edge itself is still the edge. It's got geometry. You're measuring it. It's physical, according to you. That's what you fundies think the horizon is. A physical edge for bloody boats to go over. What, now it's not a physical edge. It's actually loomed up beyond the horizon. The horizon. No. You just don't understand what your globe entails. A physical edge for boats to go over and obstruct stuff in the distance. Having a physical geometry. A fixed R value. They just don't get their own stupid religion.
Yeah, because it's being challenged, and it's being challenged with common sense arguments and using their own math, and it's just making too much sense that we can't be on the globe. But as Rumpus said on that one show, he said, this can't be reality because we know we live on a sphere, so this must be a matrix, and someone must have just done something to trick us. Oh my gosh, Rumpus. Is that the only alternative?
Yeah,
Now they're going to say
that comment was telling.
they're going to say the horizon can do whatever it wants to do. Just like science doesn't prove anything, the horizon and optics don't prove anything.
It did until the black swan showed up.
Yeah, that's the backpedaling, right? It's backpedaling and everything. First it was NASA, then we don't know, so NASA doesn't prove anything. Then it's science proves the globe. Oh no, science doesn't prove anything. The horizon, boats go over the horizon. Oh no, the horizon doesn't prove anything. It can change.
Yeah.
Wonder what's next? Nothing left.
Yeah, absolutely right. So they're stuck with, I know it's a globe. And they just spread their fundamental belief on us.
Nuh-uh.
I think, yeah. We've seen that in the last year where they really have to come out and start admitting they're taking it on faith now. That's come up a lot the past 6 months once you go through all the arguments.
It's worse. It's worse than that, but you're on it. They have to go subjective where they thought they were objective.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest achievement. Kudos to everyone that's really put all in this effort to tease it out and realize that, peel away the onion,
When the religion comes out.
Well, that's what they do in the court of law. They do cross-examination. So you say you weren't at the scene of the crime. Yes, I was not at the scene of the crime. Well, we just happen to have some video footage. No, that's my twin brother. Oh, you have a twin brother. Well, we have your DNA and your parents' heritage, and you don't have a brother. Well, actually, it was a sister who decided to identify as my brother now. I mean, they're going to change everything. I just thought of something, Nathan. So the horizon, which was an edge, is now identifying as a not actual horizon. Because it just feels like it.
Yeah, you're gonna get all the memes. This big meme mix up now. A force that's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. It's not a horizon, but you can think of it as a horizon, right?
Well said, well said. Well, it's like Danny Faulkner on that show last week. I've been going over his statements. I mean, talk about nonsense. He was asked a direct question about gas pressure without a container. And his summary at the end to answer it is, I've just given multiple examples here of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. Carefully wordsmithed words. A vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Flatsoid. Good morning.
How's it going?
Going fantastic. Ballers are running away like rats.
We had a guy early on the Discord server that was lit that he had the reason he believed in the glow was because he had complete faith in his fellow man. Like that was his actual reason for it. At least he was honest, you know. He said he didn't have any proof, but he had faith in his fellow man.
Well, why doesn't he listen to his fellow man on the Nathan Oakley debate show? Well, how come he doesn't have faith in us?
Because they select who their fellow men are, you see.
There you go. The ones that make up stuff as they go, fellow man?
Exactly right.
Oh. Well, there's an old saying, the sucker's born every second. It has to be true based on a lot of things I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, some people just seem to be happy to be ignorant, you know. They're like, ignorance really is bliss for them, you see. It really
and then
is,
the
or
other
it's,
people,
you know, just a way of life for them.
Yeah, and then the other people who know in my case, that know I'm a flat earther, won't discuss it with me because they know that I'm doing homework towards it and I'm ready to give every man an answer for the questions that might arise. So they'll just say, yeah, I know he believes that the world is flat, but I still think it's a globe, but I don't want to discuss it with him because he'll just debate. Well, we got two opposing viewpoints here of a place we're supposed to live on, and you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah, I get the same thing, man. My family's the same way.
If they're comfortable in what they live, they don't want to really change anything about it.
It's just fear. The fear of you being right and them being wrong. And the maturity of an adult is to handle every situation that comes along the way. And these people haven't matured in life because they can't handle any situation that comes along the way. They rather just avoid it.
That might be true, but I think it's also the case that most people appreciate that there's a huge stigma attached and there's a massive amount of ridicule that comes along if you even look into it. And most people can do without it. So there's a massive disproportionate amount of men looking into the subject rather than women, because women just look into the subject and immediately see a massive amount of ridicule and go, no.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that, to me, was part of my whole... That statistic was already included in what I said, being a sales trainer for many years and seeing why people were afraid to go make a cold call, which is very difficult to make a cold call, and to overcome objections on selling your product when you believe in your product. But why is it hard to overcome an objection if you believe in your product? So I already had that all included in the way my brain synapses are firing, and that's a tell right there that if you back away because of a stigma, don't be in my foxhole, because someone's going to come and shoot me in the back.
Well, I agree, but that's what I'm saying. To a female perspective, this seems like a battle rather than an investigation. They come along, you look at the subject and go, what I see is a lot of men ridiculing each other and a lot of vitriol, hatred, and you go, do I want to get involved in that? And then you look at, that's why women like Patricia Steer get ridiculed the most, and they get the most hate, because then they're a poster child for anybody who's female that looks at the subject and goes, that's what you get.
Well, they'll resort to any kind of to get people anti-whatever. I didn't finish that, but so if they're going to run with that, they'll run with that. If they're going to run, in my life, it's mostly men. So, I mean, they're a bunch of, Brady cats to me I challenge them. I say, if you don't want to talk to me about the subject, that's telling about who you are and what you are. I'll just tell them that, because I mean, you're still my friend and I won't talk to you about it anymore, but it's just telling right now.
Sure. But like I say, there's more levels to it than just understanding and appreciation of the argument regarding the nature of our reality. A lot of people will just instantly recognise the subject matter and how that is treated, and how people who look at the subject matter or declare they align with the subject matter get treated, and just say a flat out no, I'm not even going to consider the subject or argue about it, because yeah, it might be you're right in the fact that they fear realising that's the correct subject, having to align with it, and not wanting to, because society is much easier if you just play along. That's my wife's attitude. She can argue all of these points, all of these flat. She listens to the show. She knows all the points. Is she a flat earther? No. Because going out into a day-to-day job or doing her day-to-day stuff as a flat earther is more difficult. That's just the simple reality for my wife. So she might be able to argue all the points. She might laugh when she hears Globers arguing incorrectly. Her and I have been chuckling along to Sean Hawkins' show. It's comical when people are that stupid. It is actually very good entertainment. But the point is that she's never going to declare herself as a flat earther, because she doesn't want the stigma attached to it, and that's why it's been structured in the way it has.
And I agree with that.
Yeah,
and what I'm
one
saying
level-
also agrees with that sentiment, because that's true even in people in the Christian faith who are afraid to talk about their faith, because there's going to be maybe a debate, maybe some hard questions might be asked, and maybe you have to go study and know what the Greek says or the Hebrew says, and they're just, no, I'll just stay on the sidelines.
Right.
Yeah, the one level deeper, I would say, is not just the ridicule, but the amount of change in your life, not only that you have to face, but the change in your life that you have to implement once you know this. So I think it's a self-protection mechanism from not just the ridicule, but also then the subsequent change that really will take place in your life. I think that's what people are really resisting, consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah, I'm sure there are many facets to this, why people don't. To me, I'm very open. I say, look, if you can prove it's a globe, I'll immediately believe it's a globe. Let's have the discussion. I'm very open to it. I don't mind being wrong, but everything I've seen doesn't prove a globe. So let's have a discussion. No, I don't want to have a discussion because you're a flat earther, and you might. Well, I'm a flat earther because I don't see a globe proof. So,
Anyway, QE's going to be addressing this tomorrow on his show.
good.
So he's going to cover the Black Swan argument again, and he'll probably have to cover it 10 more times before our side understand how damning it is, how it ends the calculations, and for their side to understand the analogy, maybe it'll take 20 more attempts. Making quite a lot of noise, Light.
Yeah,
Hold on one second. You're making quite a lot of noise, Light Energy. Can you just pop yourself on mute if you don't want to actually add anything?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals of anything.
As soon as you start talking, hold on. Billy and Light Energy, you are both hot mic making noise. Thank you.
the fundamentals of anything, whether it's sports or, I remember there's an old American football, Vince Lombardi, a very famous coach. He would start every season with, grown men who know football. He says, and he'd hold the ball. He says, this is a football. And he would just go over the fundamentals. So we can never go over the fundamentals too much. So QE doing the show tomorrow and keep doing it is, I would say keep doing it because we are humans and we just need to keep seeing the fundamentals of the arguments.
Yeah, and as time goes by, it's not detrimental that our side are being led and arguing about things that refract around the horizon in their model, as opposed to the horizon, because we see their rebuttals, we hear the crap they come up with, and can ultimately debunk it when someone else goes to challenge it and hasn't heard a crappy rebuttal before. So, in many ways, these people are pioneers in the argument.
Well, I think it will definitely be beneficial to a lot of flat earthers, especially on the 24/7 Discord. Like a lot of them don't seem to have the right arguments or the right rebuttals. And I've sort of gone in there from here and taken a lot of, your arguments in here from the panel. And I've noticed a bit of a trend, like people are starting to understand a lot of, what you guys say, like even just the fundamentals, like you guys are saying, like even what science is, what a hypothesis is, like what simple things, yeah.
No, that's not simple stuff. It was simple when we were about 10 or 11, and they first told us. It's very simple at a base level. You're correct. What's not simple is the fact that ever since they told us it in school, they told us the complete opposite from there on in. So it's complicated to understand and unbrainwash yourself about what science is when the moment you've had that argument, if you've got a TV, you switch on the TV and listen to an advert talking about how science proves a shampoo is better.
Exactly. Just like just listening to you guys, I brought a lot of memories from when I went to school, like even just what a hypothesis is. Like I didn't, like you said, it's a simple thing, but I had forgotten what it was. And like I remember my science teacher teaching me what a hypothesis was, and the steps to the scientific method and the steps to an experiment. So it's just like a refreshing course that we all need, I think.
Yeah, I can remember the class it was taught to me into. I can also remember there being all of the planets laid out in a heliocentric model above the blackboard. But there we go.
Exactly. Yeah, they mix the truth in with the whole lot of lies as well, just to confuse you. Clearly.
Good conversation with Ranty about this a couple of days ago. So Ranty's very much cemented in the reality of our world. He's out with his camera, he's getting cold and all the rest of it wet, sometimes sandy. And he's got that mindset. So when he argues with the fundies, he recognises the truth in the doublespeak. So when it comes to talking about refraction, the opponents who are reasonably well educated are good at utilising their knowledge of actual atmospheric effects and then sneakily slipping under the radar the fact that they've substituted that for a radius assuming value with mathematics that isn't anything to do with actual conditions on the day. Well, that understanding that they use is quite often, or more often than not, correct. So when you look up their explanation, you'll look up real atmospheric effects, not their model-based 7.6R. But as Ranty goes further into his investigations, he's hearing more and more truth, and he's like, maybe I should get these people on. I won't say who he was using in this example, but to talk about that particular aspect. I'm like, no, they're utilising their exceptional knowledge of the atmosphere and how it works for one purpose, so that they can introduce 7/6R for the dumb people that don't recognise when they slip in the begging the question fallacy. But that's their only reason for knowing it, not so they can discuss the actual atmosphere with you. Their only purpose is to juxtapose it with the sphere at some stage. But yeah, the truth is always mixed in there to make the lie more credible. And in this case, the lie is 7/6R. It's assuming its outcome. It's assuming light's bending around a presupposed sphere with an R value. So it's R on steroids. R and then 7/6R. Well, that little switcheroo takes place after they've talked very educatedly about atmosphere and what it does and the conditions and refraction. Not in this case, though. Black Swan doesn't apply. Can't loom the horizon above the horizon.
So it's like the wife that slowly slips you the arsenic, yeah?
Say again.
With your dinner. It's like the wife that slowly slips you the arsenic with your dinner.
Arsenic. Oh, I see. Arsenic. Yeah, that sounded very different the first time around.
I've built a. Oh my god! It's like Princess Bride. Where
Sorry,
he
that
says,
was
"I've built
funny. Slipped you the ass, Nick, in your dinner.
Reminded me of the Princess Bride where the iocane potion scene came up. It wouldn't matter which one he took because he built a. He would take it slowly, and I guess his body built antibodies towards it. The other guy dies. Yeah, I think 2020, Nathan, and Discord, and anyone else listening, is going to be a wonderful year for Flat Earth because these guys are at the end of their ropes, so to speak.
Yeah, 2019 saw the conclusion of both Coriolis and gravity as arguments. You know, they've got conclusive outcomes now. We shut down nice and quickly. So
And then we start 2020 with the horizon. Lovely.
We also had this back in the day. So, you know, episodes 74 through 190 or something, we're all talking about this exact same subject. And at the time I was phrasing it as there's supposed to be a wall of water between you and the target. And in the calculator back then it was called the horizon bulge. And they removed it. Now, we didn't realise when we were arguing about the physicality, the wall of water between you and it, in the case of the Isle of Man, that being the horizon, the bulge, the obstruction, the things boats go over and this land's obstructed by. We were pointing out that there's supposed to be a wall of water, and there wasn't. And then they removed it from the calculator. We go, well, at the time we didn't realise how significant that was. Now we do. They've got physical edge. That's why they've got a control dot narrative with the Flat Earth Society telling us to justify our edge on a reified model they've given to us. So here you go, here's your model. Wow, you got boats going over the edge of your model. What you talking about? You just gave it me. This isn't my model. You just shoved it in my hands. Not my hands, metaphorically. Your hands, flat earthers. I'm talking to you, anybody who's holding on to an azimuth equidistant projection. Your boats go over the edge of that projection. Well, why do you think they were saying that to us? Because boats go over their edge. It's a physical edge. It's their sphere edge. It's where they get their R value in some instances. And it's supposed to be blocking stuff in the distance. So it can't loom above itself. The horizon's the definition when it comes to things sinking, stretching, looming, being refracted, mirages. These are all with respect to the horizon. Not the horizon looming above the horizon. The horizon's the not actual position where the sky appears to meet the ground. Not some line a little bit further down in the water that you've just decided to arbitrarily now assign because your model needs an edge. So I'm going to call this bit the edge. No. Your horizon's your edge, and it's just not where it's supposed to be, so it can't be physical. And your model needs it to be. End of globe. Game over. No maths is going to bring the horizon back from the horizon. So, end of model. End of calculations. They can't get around this.
No, and something else that comes back to get them. They always poo-pooed perspective, right? They always said the opposite of what we were saying about perspective. And now perspective is coming to get them.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason it's further away is a clear day. You can see further. That's it. End of explanation. So suddenly, for them, they've got to start arguing our point. Well, the horizon's a not actual location. No, it's not a not actual location for you, Fundy. You need an edge to obscure stuff and for boats to go over. It must have physicality. It's supposed to be geometric. End of your argument when it's not that. Not, it's not an actual position anymore. Oh, well, that's the end of your calculations and model and R value then. Oh, no, maybe they'll change R. Oh, no, that would fuck things up in the sky now. Hello, Billy Bars.
Wow. Did you say something?
Or is it Burn Fat's trying to say something, but he's on mute. Let's just take him off server mute. I burn fat till my stomach is as flat as the earth. One of my patrons. Good to have you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
I still remember the video Burn Fat did when he did the convertible and threw something up in the air.
Imagine the outcome, although I've not seen that video.
Oh, he's not talking. He's just listening.
B. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, the outcome was it fucks off.
I was going to say those exact words.
Yeah. I'm just going to listen because I'm not too used to it all right now, so.
No problem. Welcome. Good to have you.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Yeah, it was funny because the video, he's just happy and smiling, and it's the end of Coriolis.
Yeah, Slice Barcane, I think one of his very first videos. So he was trolling me for months and months and months, presumably trolling everyone else as well. And at the time, I wouldn't take people... Billy Bars, can you pop yourself on mute? I wouldn't take people seriously unless they were videographers. That's not my standard anymore, by the way, but back when I was first making videos, I'm like, well, if I've gone out on a limb and made videos about this and you're just a trap troll, then screw you, sort of things. And at the time, Sly was just that. It was just a trap troll. You know, didn't make any videos. And I kept saying to him, you know, make a video response, make a video response. And eventually he did. And one of the first videos he made was him in a car throwing a ball up and down. Obviously, the class closed. Of course.
Yeah, how did they negate that evidence there? Look, I'm in a closed system. See? Oh, how about an open system? Forget that? Don't you forget we're supposed to be an open system?
Yeah, that's the undoing, though, isn't it? I've had George Netanyahu over a barrel with that. You know, gave a comparison and was like, well, in this system, bus, train, whatever it might be he was using, I can't remember. You know, it's like, well, you fly the drone in there and it just flies along with the train. Or you throw the ball in the air and it just comes back to you into your hand. And you're like, right, so that's a closed system like Earth. No, well,
Yeah,
Earth's kind of open.
It's approximately closed.
Approximately closed. No such thing.
Well, you can't have gas pressure without a container. Just kills them immediately. And then to see them weasel around that obvious fact, because they can't demonstrate gas pressure next to a vacuum or gas pressure outside of a container. They can't demonstrate it.
Yeah. So you get some fundies who recognise that, causes them cognitive pain, and they come here going, well, it's actually closed. Oh, yeah. And how does Voyager get, rumpus, rumpus, rumpus?
But see, now what they did is not what they're doing with the Horizon. The Horizon, now they have to change just like they did with the gas pressure because it's not working out for them.
Yeah, it's every argument. Coriolis, there's a deviation. So let's argue about why it's not deviating. So all of their arguments are like this now. You know, you just got to unpick them to the point where people recognise the doublespeak. Because of course they're going to have a crap rebuttal. In this case, their rebuttal's our argument. Well, the Horizons are not actual place. Yeah, no shit, Fundy Globehead with a physical edge. Yeah, yesterday you were denying you had an edge, right? So boats suddenly get ignored that they're supposed to be going over it, and things that are being obscured by it physically, that's all forgotten because they don't have an edge now. Now you do have an edge, you need an edge, it's part of your calculations, your R value. Remember your R value? Yeah, I say in R you trust and you just think I'm being silly. Till it comes to you begging the question and using R. Then it's a massive problem when you need a physical edge to have geometry. And you haven't got it because it's moving. End of argument. Calculations break down. No refraction can bring the horizon back from beyond the horizon.
Everyone listening, this is what happens when you don't beg the question. You keep them on task. You don't let them tack away with some red herring. No fallacies allowed. And they get stuck because their arguments are weak when you don't beg the question and you don't to take all the bait on the, well, what about this? No, we're talking about the horizon. Well, what about this? No, we're talking about the horizon. Well, what about this? No, we're talking about the horizon. Dang it. Why do you keep bringing me back to that horizon?
Well, that happened today to me while I was on the 24/7 Discord server, and I was muted. A mod had muted me, and this guy was letting this Glober beg the question, and I was just frustrating the shit out of me, you know? So I was bloody muted.
That happened to me on Friday night. I said, I'll just go on Discord, see what they're talking about. And of course, begging the question, the guy's rambling on. I tried to get in when I thought there was a break, and the mod told me to be quiet. And I said, well, the guy just said he was done. He says, yeah, but you still need to be quiet. And I'm the one trying to answer the stupid question they haven't even answered for so many minutes. I said, forget it, I'm done. These people beg the question with Glober. So the next morning, I get on, and Chocolate's on Discord. So, hey, Chalk, how you doing? And so we start talking, and I bring up that story, and everyone starts laughing because they realize sometimes that takes place. But we weren't begging the question on Saturday morning. We had a very good show on Saturday morning there, and we were not allowing anyone to beg the question.
Yeah, I had a similar thing happen
You got to
to me.
watch out with the mods. There's a lot of virtue signaling going on, so you got to watch out with that. That's all.
I don't care about the mods there. I'm just going to say what I say. If they want to shut me down, shut me down. I'm polite about it, at least.
So Gem Panda had a Q&A session with Dr. Daniel Faulkner, and my idea, or unless I'm misunderstanding something here, was that a Q&A was an opportunity for you to put questions to somebody. So I went into the chat and asked a very specific, concise question. How can you have gas pressure without a container? And then I noticed when I came back that the comment had been removed. Now, the replies, coincidentally one from M. Stone, talking about how Nathan thinks the second law of thermodynamics debunks space, that managed to stay. So several other replies to me by name also remained. But my specific question was censored from Gem Panda's channel. So obviously that question wasn't going to get asked to the person. I just thought I'd point this out, as sometimes people will be incredibly abusive of me or other people in the chat, and I will eventually ban them, and then they bleat and moan. Yeah, an on-topic question about how you can have gas pressure without a container, a very specific question put to Dr. Daniel Faulkner and not answered. Or answered with redneck retard hillbilly blue balls, who I had over a barrel in my chat yesterday. You know, gas pressure without a container, as demonstrated by a pipe, which is a container, you hillbilly moron. Yeah, that's who he's referenced. So it's still an outstanding question that he's been attempting to answer unsatisfactorily, but apparently that needs censorship. So my question was removed.
Nathan.
My replies,
Nathan.
they remained.
Hey, Nathan,
Yes.
before you round out and start the show, at the 52:23 mark, I did ask that question. And I have a screenshot. Danny Faulkner, how can you have gas pressure next to a vacuum? And then all the people in there started jumping on my case. So he ended up answering that question. It was the last question he answered. And that's what I'm going to be talking about real soon, about his answer. It was terrible.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, Chocolate.
But just answer it as an answer to the housekeeping question when it comes to it, if you're good with that.
Well, yeah, I'll do it. I may put up a slide I made, so I'll just send it to Master B, and you can put it up.
Sure.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Speaking of people joining, we've got a couple of new members, so big massive shout outs to Mario Knows It's Flat, who joined as a penguin, and also Passway Toa, who's also joined as a penguin. So massive shout out of appreciation to you. As I say, if you do want to join, there's a blue join button on a PC, and I think there's also one on Android, or a link below if you haven't got either of those devices. So we are joined by Righteous Force, Chocolate Saiyan, and 10th Man in G+. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Got a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in Discord.
Hello.
Hello. Any signs?
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Any evidence of a physical sphere edge capable of geometric measurement?
How could an apparent position be physical?
It can't.
That would be
It
opposite.
Any evidence of Earth curvature?
Not from Los Angeles Airport.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No,
No,
no spin.
we would then need access,
Hey, Sleeping
which
Warrior.
would require this supposed curvature.
Feel free to join in Discord. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Hey, Arwin. Arvane?
None.
Hello?
Hello!
Oh,
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
no.
No.
No. Let's first establish it's a physical thing in the first place to have a distance too.
So much stuff we need to establish physicality for at the moment. It's untrue. I lose track.
Yep.
Hey, Flatsword.
If they can't measure the edge, how are they going to measure the sun?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, just cartoons.
Yep. Fantastical idea.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Bloody hell.
Hey guys.
Stupid Windows. It's supposed to be refined and getting better, but it seems to be getting worse.
Any evidence of the R value?
No, only a bit of illusionary refracted nonsense over the horizon.
Yeah.
Over the
Oh,
horizon.
Ruif and his R fraction yesterday. That was special. Over at Ranty's.
Any single...
Would a radius
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Flatsword.
would a radius have an edge?
Yeah, I think the moon landings are definitely fake.
would a radius have an edge?
Yeah, if we're on a sphere, then, as Brenda came in and tried to argue about a week ago, you can calculate the sphere edge, the bit that's going to be obstructing, with the geometry. That's the thing that they think the horizon is. A physical edge of a sphere.
And Nathan, have you heard Ruif's statement yesterday about infinite refraction?
Of things around the horizon. So, yeah, you think that you've done well. By arguing with him about refraction, Anthony already knew this. They'll just bend the light a bit more, and we've got to the point where they're having to bend it infinitely. Well, shock horror, that's still a draw. Now, we can highlight the farcical nature of slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projections from beyond the reified edge of Van Earth curve, based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. Now, that reified edge isn't the looming. Now, you look up definitions of looming, and it talks about how things are moving in respect to the horizon. You're not having definitions give you an explanation about the horizon being loomed above the horizon.
Yep. How does that work? How can
Didn't
a
you
Doesn't,
say
horizon
that?
loop
and
above?
it doesn't work. Not only does it not
Infinite
work.
looming?
Not only does it not
Infinite
work as a.
refraction?
Not
I'm
only does
sorry,
it not.
excuse me.
Not only does it not work as an effective atmosphere, that's not what their model is. They need an edge. Something physical to block buildings in the distance, for boats to go over, for them to ask us why they're missing from the bottom. That's what they need. Why aren't people getting this? Anyway, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope.
Seven, yeah, no. Would every scientific to have scientific validity, would you say you need a demonstrated experiment?
Well, maybe I could summarize roughly what that group of people would do. You know,
Group of
the
people. Yes, about
astrologer would say, "Look, at some point their star's going to disappear. It's been predicted according to blah blah blah." Then the astronomer takes a careful look when the time comes and sees, "Oh, look, this star's disappearing." Then the astrophysicist says, "I know why that happens. It's because a black hole or the star exploded," and starts to tell the heliocentric scientific fiction story about it. At no point ever was the scientific method applied.
correct. Hope that answers your
Or
question.
they just say the model is wrong.
Shout out to Wakey Wakey. Right, shout out to Good Servant. Thank you very much for hitting the super chat. Last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum?
No,
I'm
but,
still waiting.
but Danny Faulkner tried to answer this the other day.
Is that
on
so?
That show.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I posed the question at the beginning of the stream, but I was censored. So that people replying to me is still in that chat feed, but my question of how you can have gas pressure without a container was censored from the feed.
Yeah, I was able to get mine in at the 52-minute mark, and it was the last question that the host brought up to him, and he kind of did it like, well, I have to end it here. Sorry to do this, kind of. And then he asked the question. If someone could put up my slide in Master B of the tail end of Dr. Danny Faulkner's answer. Slide I put there. Can present that, please.
Got it on screen. I'll just tidy it up a little bit. Go ahead.
All right. So he goes through all his examples at the 1 hour, 1 minute, 40-second mark. And I would say go listen to those examples that he gave of gas pressure, how it can work next to a vacuum of space. They're the most ridiculous answers you ever heard. However, he ended it up with the statement that I have on screen. I've just given multiple examples, quote unquote. I've just given multiple examples here of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. And if you can figure out why that exists in a stable situation in the Earth's atmosphere, you've just answered the question of why you can have a vacuum of space, quote unquote, and not rob the Earth of its atmosphere. We'll come back to that. I won't convince many flat earthers on that, but that is the answer. They don't like it because it's a talking point. They're not about to give it up, even though they're wrong about it. Dr. Danny Faulkner, January 18, 2020, Human of Earth YouTube channel, 1 hour, 4 minute, 57 mark to 1 hour, 5 minute, 35-second mark.
So what were his examples?
Well, I will tell you his examples in just a second, but I just want to go over that first paragraph.
Okay, I'll stick it back up.
I've just given multiple examples here of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. The question is simple. How can you have gas pressure without a container? Look at the way he chooses to answer. Multiple examples of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. And if you can figure out, he's telling us, if you can figure out why that exists, in a stable situation. Well, what is the meaning of a stable situation?
Can I ask something?
Sounds like a trick question.
Hang on.
A rock
Yes,
is also a
you,
non-vacuum.
you can all ask what you want. Just wait. In the Earth's atmosphere, you've just answered the question of why you can have a vacuum of space. Now, what does that mean? We'll find out in a minute. Quote unquote, and not rob the Earth of its atmosphere. The double speak of this person is incredible. Because in his examples, do you know how he describes a vacuum?
Go on.
The lower pressure above an airplane wing versus the higher pressure under the airplane wing.
All right.
That's a
Well, we
vacuum
would ask
fill.
in that example where you got gas pressure from in the first place. Like if you describe a hurricane.
Oh my God.
in order
He's
to-
listening to
Wow.
people like Zanuck.
So that
Really?
sounds like, look,
That's a Zanuck argument. Are you kidding?
a vacuum may be
Really?
low pressure,
PhD.
but not all low pressure is a vacuum.
Right.
Hang on, it gets
Wow.
better. It gets better. He says it's, again, I have to be fair. So I will say, he did say this was very slight, but it does prove the point. Vacuum over your head compared to your feet. Not much of a difference, but it's there.
What? It's just a moron.
Huh?
If it's got particulate matter in it, then you can't consider it a vacuum.
This is why when you redefine the word vacuum, and then we go back to the last quote that I have, you can see the doublespeak.
Yeah. Well,
I
it's
just-
Well, people
low
like
pressure with vacuum. That's
people like Zanuck have tried to redefine vacuum, and somebody like him will say, "Oh, it's a pressure differential." So wherever you have a pressure differential, you have a vacuum.
Yeah, it's just not correct. So a gas pressure differential would be would give rise to the following question: where did the gas pressure in the first instance exist? How did you get the gas pressure in the first place? In other words, if you've got some gas pressure and then you move a wing over it, you can cause a differential. That's fascinating. Where did it get the gas pressure from in the first place? Well, that's the original question. How can you have gas pressure without a container? And to demonstrate that, we'd need to see gas pressure without any container. Now, before the wing moves and after the wing's been there, and during the wing's process of doing that, you already had gas pressure the entire time. And how do you have gas pressure? Well, gas pressure's it pressing on something. So beyond that example, you've got to justify where you had the gas pressure in the first instance to cause that differential. It's a delta of gas pressure. First you have gas pressure, then you have a gas pressure differential. And our question isn't in regards to delta X, gas pressure differentials, it's in regards to gas pressure. How can you have the gas pressure for you then to move a wing over it without a container? And we'd need a demonstration of that, not you causing a difference in gas pressure that's pre-existing. Idiots.
Okay, so did he demonstrate any of this, or did he just say?
No.
It's not demonstrating
an
gas pressure without a
afternoon talk
container.
show.
He's giving a false equivalence and demonstrating delta X, gas pressure differential. So no, he's not giving an example.
There were two words missing in the dialogue that he had on this point. The two words that I found interesting that were missing was the word gradient, never mentioned it, and the word gravity, never mentioned it. So he stayed away from those 2 points, but he also, for another one of his examples, talked about the atmosphere doesn't go one atmosphere to a vacuum, because he's saying that as he went up on a mountain, as you can go back to the 1 hour, 1 minute, 40-second mark and listen to his examples yourself, that as he goes up higher on the mountain, the air is less and less. So he said that, but he says that continues all the way up to where at so many, I can't remember what the height was, it's only 1% of what it is here on Earth, meaning the atmosphere.
Yeah, well,
So
so
he-
what? Gas is created at ground level. The fact that it makes its way up to those heights and isn't being produced at those heights, therefore there's less of it as more is produced below, that isn't a justification for there being a sky vacuum. Because that very low 1% of gas would immediately dissipate into the available volume it had if it wasn't contained. So your gas pressure differential, as I've just explained, is merely a red herring. It's addressing delta X, gas pressure differentials, rather than the question, how can you have the gas pressure in the first place without a container? And we need to see a demonstration of some gas pressure not being contained. Not you producing a differential in pre-existing gas pressure, because the necessary antecedent is a container. And you're saying, no, it isn't, because the sky's a vacuum. Oh, really? Well, beyond your fundy belief, and you addressing a gas pressure differential, how can you have gas pressure without a container?
Do you think
Wait.
they understand that?
There's your answer, guys. Wait.
Do you think they realize?
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Wait.
Weight is down. Vector down. Gas expands in all directions.
You're saying gas doesn't have weight?
Sorry, how did it get to the top of Everest, given that it's got weight? So it's not making its way to the top of Everest. It's not going up to the top of Everest, given that all the gas is produced at ground level. Very little of it's produced at the top of Everest. And yet there it is. It's made its way, let's just say it again slower, up! So vector of down, weight, not applicable with gas. Expands in all directions.
So there's a gradient, so that wouldn't be in all directions.
Sorry, did you not just listen to me explaining that it's produced at ground level and makes its way up? But it's going to be thinner at the top, given that it's not produced there, and more of it at the bottom, because that's where it is produced.
Expands in all directions.
But ultimately speaking, while you interrupt me, it's making its way in defiance of a vector of down to do this. So that was your first point, and you're yet to address my debunking, given that gas expands in all directions. So your vector of down isn't the explanation. Will you concede this, please, before we move on?
There's a bit of a non sequitur.
Sorry, you're saying the fact that gas expands in all directions, completely negating your claim that down is only applicable, even though you later go on to juxtapose that with it being at the top of something and being thinner, so therefore must have made its way up. You think that's a non sequitur? No, it's not. It just rips apart your claim that the explanation for this is somehow down. It's got weight. No. It expands up. That's how it got to the top of Everest and was thinner up there than where it was produced at the ground. So, no rebuttal, just claimed to be a non sequitur. Useless twat.
That answers your question, though. How you have gas pressure without a container is you give the molecules or atoms a property called weight.
Sorry, I've just explained that that's not applicable. It's the third time. I'll say it one last time, then I'll just get rid of you from the conversation because you're not listening to me.
Don't. Let me.
He's not listening to me. It's the third.
I want to beg the question with him.
It's the third repetition of him saying the answer to this problem, how do you have gas pressure without a container, is weight. Because the gas is being pulled down. That's his answer. And I'm saying that's wrong. And he's just repeated it for the third time. What, should we have 15?
Wrong. I agree.
15 more times of him saying weight solves the problem and that my rebuttal, that it expands in all directions. Why am I getting
the weight of the gas is not going to prevent
I don't get it. I've got a concise point to
directions.
make that debunks him. And my own panel wants to shut me up. No, he's
right.
hand waved me 3 times. And my
right,
rebuttal is unaddressed. No, his solution that is reasserted 3 times is that down solves the problem. It doesn't. That's how we got gas at the top.
Indeed. Can I also
Nobody
point
said
out
there were
that
other
weight
forces
is
or
not gonna
things
prevent
going
the
on.
gas.
Nathan.
Pardon, unorthodox.
Yeah, maybe I'm missing the point, but I mean, nobody said there aren't other things going on in the atmosphere that could make it raise
Unorthodox.
in level or in height.
Let me take over from Nathan.
Why?
I'll do this in a different way.
I'm sorry,
to Nathan.
am I losing?
No, you've made your point, but Unorthodox doesn't understand it. So I'm going to show him why he can't even have it if he begs the question.
Fine.
Unorthodox, this is on the assumption that we accept your point that weight, if we give the gas weight, then we can explain it, which was your point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Define weight for me as per the physics definition.
F equals mg.
Weight. Yes,
mg.
Yes,
okay.
that would be F equals mg.
So
That's
so you
that's
know
where you get weight
that
from.
you know that the g is gravity, and we know that gravity is not a force. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to give you that gravity is a force, even though it isn't. Do you understand that?
Well, I was trying to argue in terms of not including gravity, just saying weight, because we all agree things
Yeah,
have
but weight
weight.
does include gravity. It includes gravity being little g as a force, right?
Well, no, F equals mg. G is not F. So gravity isn't a force, it's an acceleration field.
Yeah, and mass accelerates is a force.
It essentially causes a force, right? If you, like I said, just look at the equation.
Listen,
F equals
I'm
mg.
going to give you
F isn't
gravity
G,
being a
so
He's not
force.
G
listening.
is an F.
He's not listening to you, Anthony. He's not listening.
It
That you.
doesn't matter. The weight
Hold on,
doesn't
Arwen.
matter.
Arwen, thank you. He's not listening to you, Anthony. You've said already, as a disclaimer, that you'll concede this. But he wants to argue the semantics of how he justifies a not actual force as being a cause of a force when you've already given it him. I don't get it.
So unorthodox. Just agree that I'm giving you gravity as a force for this conversation, okay?
Okay. No. That's fine.
Okay. So mass. What's the definition of mass?
Anything that takes up space and resists acceleration.
Takes up space, right? So how do you have mass, right? So we have air molecules, and the air molecules are not connected to each other. They are individual to themselves, and they lack intermolecular bonds. Do you agree?
That they lack I don't know if I would agree to the second part.
Okay, so they have intramolecular bonds, but they lack intermolecular bonds. Do you understand the difference between the two?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about.
They're not bonded.
Yes or
Gas
no?
is unbonded. Let's just end this. It's pointless. It's unbonded. Gas isn't attached. That's what defines it as being a gas.
Correct.
Do you understand or
Unbonded.
not? Do
It
you
lacks
understand?
intermolecular
Okay,
bonds.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Sure.
So what is the mass in the context of gas? Is it the molecule or is it something else?
Well, it would be the molecule or the atom that takes up space and resists movement or acceleration.
Right. If it's the molecule, then that's your mass.
Yeah, or atom.
Right. So if we're talking at the molecular level, how then do you qualify gas to have weight when you don't have the whole of the gas? You only have one molecule.
The same way you would qualify it in any other sense. But isolating one
Well,
atom
explain.
is quite difficult.
Explain. How do you get more than one molecule if you just agreed that mass is the molecule? Where do you get all of the molecules from?
I'm kind of missing the point here. I mean, we're talking about a collection of molecules. Are you
How do
talking
you
about
collect-
how we
No.
isolate
Stop,
one
hold on,
molecule?
Anthony. No. Did you not just listen? Unbonded. Not a collection. Unconnected. You fucking retard. Didn't you listen? I qualified it. Anthony explained it. You said you didn't understand. Then you said you did understand. Unbonded. Not a collection, you shithead.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, no shit.
Right.
No
One is
shit.
and the other one's
So
wrong.
we're talking about unbonded and you're saying a collection. Two different things, one being not the other. So not a collection, shit for brains. Clear?
How do you get mass when you've only got one molecule?
The same way you get mass in any other sense.
How?
In any
You
other
haven't got-
scenario.
they're not bonded.
It doesn't have to be bonded.
Yeah, they don't have to be bonded for mass. Fuckwit. No, you're
Why
just...
would they have to be bonded for mass?
yeah, mate, you're fucked. Anthony's raped you. Now you just need to bleed.
Nathan,
Okay.
let's do this nicely.
Can I
So-
talk about something else too? Since you guys
No!
are doing this.
What? At the point that he's won? And can now tell his audience how he's beaten the shit out of you with this stupid mass example that assumes G. When you're talking about down for stuff that expands in all directions. What you want to babble on. No! Shut up, sit down and understand you've lost.
How do you have mass if you've only got one molecule in the atmosphere? Even if we give you gravity being a force, where does the mass come from if it's only one molecule?
From the space that the molecule takes up.
So
and the
space is now
resistance
mass,
to
is it?
acceleration of the-
The space between it's not the math. What are you on about, you bozo?
Space between it's not mass.
No, mate. You're not
I mean,
going
I
to sit
guess- I
down?
guess I'm
Going
missing
to
your
keep
point.
fighting this corner, even though you've lost already? You're gonna off the ropes, onto the canvas, and then stumbling around to get punched a few times, are you? You've lost.
Nathan,
that
Nathan,
totally
stop.
explains it.
The audience sees that he's lost. I want him to see that he's lost.
He'll never
Unless
see he's lost. He's a fundy. This will just go on for the next 3 times like he denied it with me 3 times. It's going to go expanding in all direction. Even when you give him gravity, the thing he came in with and didn't concede for me, he still doesn't get his argument to make coherent sense, which is what you've pointed out. Yeah, we can beg the question of downward forces, and the gas is still expanding. Up.
Yeah, if a gas expanded in all
It does. Yeah, that's right.
It
It does. Yeah, if it does. No, it does. Contrary to your claim that down solves this, which is where I shit all over you too. No, down doesn't solve this. Gravity doesn't stop the gas dispersing to fill the available volume, because that's not how gas behaves. It's not being pulled down, it's making its way up.
Do you know why it is
if you remember
slow
any like
dispersal?
pressurized containers, if you input gas into a
Sorry, dickhead, do you think now you've lost that it's time for you to spew your next shite over the audience? No, it's now time for Anthony to gloat how badly he beat you. So shut up!
Well, I would gloat if I could get a word in, Nathan. So,
My bad.
unorthodox. Where does the weight come from then? If you haven't got if you've only got a molecule, where does the weight come from?
the same place it would come from in any other scenario. I don't really get your point. When you're talking about one molecule, though, you can't really talk about states of matter because states of matter.
Stop. Every other example includes mass, where you've got intermolecular bonds that holds an object together to give it cohesive properties. Right? We have a globule, or we have a rock, or we have whatever, and that is a mass. But with gas, it doesn't have any intermolecular bonds. You've only got one molecule, and you've admitted that and accepted that. So where do you have the mass, assuming that you have gravity anyway, to give you weight? Because without weight, your argument falls apart and you lose.
I never said intermolecular bonds were responsible for weight.
I said that it's
That's
the
your
lack
claim.
of the shut up. It's the lack of the intermolecular bonds that is the reason why you can't have weight for your explanation.
I'm talking like on a macro scale. Like if you put gas in a container.
Oh, what? If you get a whole collection of it together? Yeah,
if
we
you
know.
put it in a container-
We've already pointed this out. So what, round and round a few more times, Anthony? How many more times while he bundles them all together?
Nathan, he's just conceded. He said if you put it in a container. But we're not in a container though, are we?
I'm saying that's how you prove it has weight.
If it's in a
Right.
container? Oh, sorry, Anthony, you have the moment. I'm trying to steal it from you now. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, so according to
Yeah,
you
if
guys,
you put it in a
Earth is
container, we have
so
weight.
therefore it
We're
has
not in a
weight.
container, are we?
We put it in a container, do we?
That's what he said.
I mean, you guys say
Ding,
say
ding.
that Earth is
Yeah,
contained.
you got him, Tony. Nice.
Sorry, you guys say, this is your argument, shit for brains. You're trying to stop the gas expanding into the vacuum, and you've just said the way you prove it's got weight is put it in a container.
Ding ding.
Yeah, so I'm using your premises.
My
to
premise,
come to
this
my
is your
conclusion.
fucking argument, you dipshit. My premise is that Earth is flat and the sky is definitely not a vacuum. So, what, you're going to use my premise of the sky not being a vacuum to prove how downward forces stop the gas expanding in all directions by not expanding into the vacuum because they've got weight? And how do you prove they've got weight? You put them in a container? That's my premise, is it? No. This is your justification for a religious belief in the sky vacuum. It's rubbish. It doesn't work, even if we give you gravity. Well done, Anthony.
You
Yeah,
don't
nice.
think there's
Nice
a
job.
there's a dome?
Nice.
Sorry, what is this now? You asking us about what the sky is? You're justifying the sky vacuum and you've lost, and you've got the gall to start asking me about domes. We must be contained. We've got gas pressure. I've not got a clue what the sky is. I don't make that claim. You think it's a vacuum and justify it with down, and when Anthony leads you on a very clever little path, you've got to contain the gas to give it the weight to justify the down.
I'm missing the point.
Yeah, because you're dumb as fuck.
Isolating. You can't really talk about states of matter when you.
I can talk about whatever I like. You're giving the example, we're ripping it apart.
But you can't talk about states of.
I can talk about whatever I like. You're giving the example to justify a sky vacuum. Now you're telling me what I can't do.
States of matter are how atoms and molecules relate to other matter. So you can't really talk about a gas if it's just one atom, because it's the relationship with everything around it that makes it a gas. So if you isolate one atom or one molecule,
Really? One
you can't
atom?
talk about
Can
it
you
being a
demonstrate
gas.
one atom?
No, stop. It doesn't have a relationship with its surroundings because it doesn't have any intermolecular bonds. You need them bonds to have mass. Your argument fails.
I'm going to shout out a few super chats. So shout out first of all to Mario Knows It's Flat, who says, shout out to Jose G. And then quote, I'm about 20% more sure we went to the moon, end quote. And then a picture of Bath coming out. And then shout out retracted. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Mario Knows It's Flat. Shout out also to Gordzilla, who says, if the gas didn't expand in all directions, I could safely fart downstairs and no one would be the wiser. Lovely example. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Also, shout out to Elijah, who's the last super chat. So I have to see if I can scroll up and find it. If I can't, it'll be when the next person super chats. Here we go. Like the vid, premium info here. Thanks, Anthony. Indeedy do. Thank you very much, everyone, for the super chat. Thank you, Elijah Freeman.
Shout out to Ramsey, who joined 20 minutes ago.
Shout out to Adam, who probably joined before you.
Shout out to
I also had an objection about rotation. Evidence for rotation.
No. You just said to have weight, it has to be in container. Are you conceding something?
He is conceding.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Can I ask him a question now?
No, don't ask him a question.
I said if you to verify if gas has weight, you can put it in a container and weigh it.
Yeah, but we're not in a container, though. Do you understand?
So,
If we're not in a
hold
container,
on, let's clarify that. Your religion of a sky vacuum has us open, no container.
how do you do it if you haven't got a container?
You give it weight.
No, you can't give it weight. It either has it or it hasn't. And if it's not in a container and it doesn't have intermolecular bonds, how does it have weight?
You're saying that in order to have weight, you have to have intermolecular bonds, and I'm saying that's false.
Unless you put it in a container, but that would be our argument. Do you understand that?
No, he doesn't. He's dumb.
Your argument is that if you put gas in a container, it has weight?
No, that's your argument and your example about how you give gas without bonds weight. No, not ours. You keep representing your argument like we're saying it. Can you stop doing that, please?
You're trying to knock me for like a demonstration, a practical demonstration. Like to measure something, you have to put it in something to weigh it. If it's a liquid,
all right. So what? To have this gas pressure and quantify it as a collective, you need a container. That's interesting. Does Earth, as a ball in a sky vacuum, have a container?
No.
So this example's flawed then. It doesn't work with your heliocentric religion and doesn't give you anything that can justify down when the gas is going up. So it's a fail on all counts, then, unorthodox.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's proof. And unless you're saying that somehow whenever you release the gas from its container, then it has no weight. And you have some...
that's the problem. That is what happens without the container. It has no weight.
So weight is down, right? Something you put on a scale, you can weigh, correct?
No, weight is mass over volume. Sorry, no, weight is mass times little g.
Density.
Little g's down.
Yes.
So it's down. And the gas is going up. How slow do I need to say this? Wait. Oh, right. Let's stick this on a scale. Oh, it goes up as well. Hello?
Yeah, so when you release it from the container, you're
the
saying...
container around Earth. Sorry, hold on.
Weight.
The container that's around Earth. When you release it from the container around Earth we don't have, does it escape?
I'm saying you take some air, you compress it into a cylinder, and you weigh the cylinder before and after. You're saying that after I release it, like say I take the cylinder and I release the gas, it had weight before, while it was in the container, but if I release the gas, it then has no weight.
So when you
Well, you
release
need
the
to
gas,
put it
hold
in a
on.
container
When
to
you
weigh
release when you release the gas from the container, does it just disperse? That's my first question, part 1 of 2.
Yes.
And the container was the thing stopping it from dispersing, correct?
Yes. It has
And
walls.
does Earth have a container to stop the gas at pressure from escaping into your fundy belief in a sky vacuum? Do we have a container to stop the gas dispersing around your fundy belief, that is?
We do. It's called the gravitational container, aka weight.
Sorry, gravitational container. So when we weigh things to give the example, we need an actual container, but then when it's applicable to Earth, it's a gravitational container that needs a container to make the example work. So there's no container before the example, but a container needed to make the example. Is that correct?
Yes, that's how you would contain like a liquid or gas. You have to put it in a container and then set it on a scale.
I see. And Earth has a container around it to contain the gas also.
A gravitational container.
No, gravity is being described by you as you putting gas in a box and then weighing it.
I'm saying that's how you prove that the gas has weight.
Weight? No, it has pressure. It's expanding in all directions. So you putting it in a box, cramming as much as you can in, and saying, look, it's pressing down, as well as on all of the directions of the container. And then when I open the container, it disperses randomly and freely, unbonded in all directions. But we'll ignore that, because Earth doesn't have a container, because my example, when I put it in a box, has weight. That's your example.
Unorthodox, could I just ask
ignoring that it expands.
Unorthodox, wait. Can I just ask for a citation for what you said was a gravitational container, please?
I don't have a source ready.
I just made it up then.
Shooting off the cuff here.
Made it up.
I've just Googled it, and it comes back with nothing that's on topic, so nothing at all that matches. So I'm just wondering if you just plucked that out your ass.
Yeah, he has.
Pretty much.
Okay, so you've been
But
defeated,
it worked.
and now you're plucking stuff out your ass. Wow.
It didn't work.
Great religion.
Shouldn't
Hold on, last question from me, and then I'll let everyone have their own with him. Shouldn't your religion of a sphere have better answers than this, than leaving in your position where you've got to pluck stuff out your ass about gravitational force fields?
I mean, if you're thoughtful and you can think logically, plucking stuff out of your ass can be a good thing.
What, when you've got a religion that's supposed to have answers to this, and it's supposed to be the world we live in? So your
I'm having a little bit
religion... So you're saying it's good that your religion leaves you in a position where you need to pluck things out your ass?
I'm having a bit of a goof here.
Goof? You think this is your reality, mate? Goof? We're taking it very seriously. Earth is obviously and observably flat, and the sky is definitely not a vacuum. We're motionless. Now, that's a fact. But you just think it's a goof when it comes to proving the sky's a vacuum.
I only pull things out of my ass on weekends.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, take it seriously, mate. You came with a claim. Now it's been proven wrong. It's just a joke. Yeah, what a shock. It's your religious belief that we're debunking. Your belief in Earth being a sphere in a vacuum. It's not true. It's not right. We live on a flat plane and the sky's not a vacuum, mate. Now, you can find that goofy. I find it outrageous that we've been lied to on such a monumental scale about the sky being a bloody vacuum, even though it violates natural law. And even the fundies who believe in it can't come here and defend it and goof off when they get beaten.
I mean, you still haven't addressed why it magically doesn't have weight when you release it from the container.
Magically doesn't have weight. Who cares? Gas behaves as it behaves because it's gas. Do I have to justify why gas behaviour is as it is? No. Gas just behaves the way it does. But it doesn't behave conducively with the sky being a vacuum. It would all dissipate. We'd have no gas here. Do I have to justify why gas does that? No. It just would if the sky was a vacuum, which it isn't.
Unless it had weight.
Unless it has weight when you put it in a container. But the Earth hasn't got a container, because if I put gas in a container and weigh it, I can justify a force field I've plucked out my ass.
That's just the practicality of measuring a contained volume.
What? The force field you plucked out your ass is a practicality that your religion left you in need of pulling out your ass?
Nathan, you
No,
did
it's
say
just
you were
how
going
you
to
would
handle the
weigh
rings.
gas.
My bad. Go ahead,
How
Anthony.
how you would weigh gas.
Go ahead, Anthony.
So the mass that we've just said, that you said, if you take it out the container, it then doesn't have any weight. Yeah, it can't be in a container to give it weight. That's the point. You need to put it in a container. Whoa, shut up. You need to put it in a container to give it any weight. But on your model, it's not in a container, so it can't have any weight.
You don't have to put it in a container to give it weight. You have to put it in a container to weigh it.
Yeah, he's just double speaking now. That's precisely what you just said 30 seconds ago.
No, there's a difference between weighing something and it having weight.
Unorthodox. Are you not realizing the doublespeak that you're spewing right now?
No, it's just
You
bullshit.
say that you can only have the weight of a gas if it's contained. And then right after that, you say you release the gas from that container and it still has weight. That's doublespeak, man. Do you not see
If
that?
I put so if I tell you to measure liquid, I'm gonna put it in a container and weigh it.
But we're not talking
then
about a
when
liquid.
I empty it from the container, it doesn't have weight. That's doublespeak.
You're not talking about liquid. He's just
not
you just
talking
ignored
about
his
liquid,
question.
man.
He's asking
Yeah, I'm
how
using an
you
analogy.
how you define putting it in a container to give it weight, but then when it's released from the
Not to
container,
give
it
it
still
weight.
has the weight that you've given it when you put it in the container. That's double speak. You've ignored him and talked about fluid.
Do
It's
you know
not-
why
you're
fluids
not
have weight?
giving it weight
Do you know why fluids have weight, unorthodox?
because things are attracted to Earth.
No, because they've got intermolecular bonds. In contrast, gases do not.
Hold on, that's wrong. Fluid is a term that's attributed to highly compressed gas where essentially you've removed all gaps. Now that doesn't mean that it's bonded, it just means that they're so close together that they behave as though they are bonded because there's no gaps
Sorry.
anymore. That's a
I'm
fluid.
sorry, I misspoke. I meant to say liquids. I apologize.
No worries.
If they were
Yeah,
bonded,
he
it would
said
be
liquid.
it would be solid.
Say again?
If they were bonded, if they were bonded molecularly, it would essentially be like one molecule.
No, that's the
No.
difference. The liquid
Hold on,
and the gas
that we
are
Hold
on-
on.
that are
Oh,
no
this is a
different
red
from
herring.
bonding.
Hold on. It's a red herring. If they were bonded, is gas bonded? Yo!
Well, it depends on what you're talking
No,
about.
the
O2
answer is
bonded,
no. Not if, not it depends. The answer's no. This is a red herring. If they were bonded, who cares? They're not, are they? Answer, no.
O2 is an oxygen molecule bonded to another oxygen molecule.
Right, they are all unbonded, free to move in all directions at an intermolecular level. Now, while you're now juxtaposing an intramolecular level bonding, that's not what we're talking about. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so suddenly you do know the difference between inter and intra? Yeah, what shock. Just playing dumb for us, were you?
Totally.
Do you realise?
Yeah, we know. So you've got to play dumb to make your
Maybe I
globe
misunderstood-
religion
maybe I
work.
misunderstood.
You've got to play dumb. Pretend you don't know the difference just to have an argument that might work within your religious rhetoric. You've got to play dumb. Why would you need to play dumb to make this argument work?
I misunderstood you.
No, you didn't.
Maybe he's not playing dumb.
Yeah, maybe I'm not playing.
Oh, right. He just summarised inter and
Actually,
intramolecular bonds at a concise level. So he does understand them. But earlier he didn't. So what, he's just got a concise understanding of the difference while we've had this conversation? No, he's just playing dumb.
No, I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about bonds that would bond atoms together to create molecules. I thought that's what you're talking about.
Oh, what? The thing I've just pointed out the difference between. What, you're going to play dumb again? Just playing with us, you're a twat.
I guess I missed it. That's what I was saying. I wasn't.
I hear that stutter, and I know precisely what it means cognitively. It means I'm a lying sack of shit.
No, I misunderstood you. So your claim is
So, you don't need to stutter and wouldn't stutter if you weren't searching for the next lie.
I just don't know what you're arguing.
There's the stutter again.
Sure.
There's the stutter. You're a liar. You're just messing with us. You know you've got to play dumb and pretend you don't know the difference between stuff that's physically bonded, like a liquid or solid, versus a gas, and stuff that's got a intramolecular bond. You do know the difference. You're playing dumb because you need to equivocate so that you can give the gas a weight. That's the whole purpose of your little misrepresentation. You know it, I know it, and you think it's just going to get justified to the audience by claiming you're goofing off.
No, I misunderstood that. I was trying to get clarification.
So it wasn't that you were looking for understanding. You said you were goofing off. So just a lie that you were goofing off. You were intently listening and trying to find an understanding. You weren't goofing off. That was a lie.
Nathan, can I just say, it might be the case that he just genuinely didn't know because he's not as intelligent as he claims he is.
Okay, I'll accept that. You're just stupid. Fine.
Yeah.
That's
but I still don't
obvious.
understand your argument, though. Your argument
You're
is
the one that-
Did you mistake the argument when you were double speaking and saying that you would have to put gas in a container to weigh it and then releasing that from the container and it still has the weight that you needed the container for in the first place? Did you misunderstand that, or was that just purpose double speak?
No, just as in to measure a liquid's weight, you need to put it in a container.
I'd like to know why we keep talking about a liquid, because the whole time we were talking about gas. Now you want to talk about liquid.
Yeah, the reason he wants to talk about liquid is he needs a collection of them so that he can attribute the collection of them a weight. Well, gas is moving up and sideways in all directions until you contain it. That's our argument. He's too stupid to get that and wants to say, well, if I now take the properties of contained gas, I can equivocate to give me a force field to pull out my ass.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
that
so your
double
argument
speak is not going to
only-
work anymore
only-
here.
Only the act of containing it gives it weight. That's your argument.
No, gas requires containment. Otherwise, it dissipates. Like when you describe weighing the gas, cramming a load into some sort of container, and then upon releasing it, it dissipating. Well, Earth doesn't have a container to begin with. We shouldn't have any gas pressure if the sky's a vacuum.
But you still
You
don't
said that
magically
was
get
that
rid of
was
the weight
our argument.
by-
How do you weigh a gas again?
Have it in a
Unorthodox?
container, according to him.
What'd you say, Chocolate?
You said putting gas in a container to weigh it. That's our argument. But how do you weigh a gas?
In order to weigh a gas or a liquid, you would have to put it in a container as a practicality.
Oh, so that sounds like your argument then.
If you have to put it in a container, mate, then
Yes.
the atmosphere's got no weight.
No, in order to weigh it, it has weight regardless. Okay.
No,
and in
No,
order
it
to
has
weigh
mass,
it
it doesn't have weight.
in a container.
Go ahead, Adam.
There seems to be a little confusion in terms of trying to attribute weight to gases. When we obviously we can discuss mass in terms of molecular mass, and they do obviously have that. The molecules are constructed the same. But when we're talking about gases and liquids and solids, particularly the differential with gases, we can't really attribute weight. We certainly can't in a Newtonian sense, because that is mass times acceleration of gravity, and we can categorically state that that is not undergoing any downward acceleration to give it its classical definition of weight. So all you can say is it has mass, however, that mass does not exert any weight on anything. And
why is
that's
that?
pretty classic, because the way in which we calculate and describe the equivalency of weight for gases is pressure, because that describes the amount of molecules in a particular area. And the way in which we discuss weight is an application of
No, that's not
the mass onto us. The way in which we describe the way in which gases exert their mass and have an effect on other matter is pressure. It's the number of collisions in which.
in a given area.
Yes.
Yeah, but the area's got to be given though. If it's infinite, then there is no area.
Yeah, and the measurements reflect that. PSI, things like that.
So what are you saying, Adam? That you can't have delta X unless you've established that there's a container?
Oh yeah. It's a necessary antecedent, isn't it? If you're gonna vary something, you have to have it in the first place to vary it.
So unorthodox, we need you to respond to that point and only that point.
How you measure pressure so the antecedent to pressure would be molecules
and
colliding with it. As given by the definition, pressure is force over area, not force over volume.
Over
so
area.
the only two antecedents are molecules
What if the area is
an area?
Area of what?
Do what?
Area of
Whatever you
what?
like.
If the area
Whatever
is
you like.
infinite, Orthodox, what's the answer?
What would you say?
If the area is infinite, what area are they colliding with?
The infinite area.
So there's
there's no real infinite in the real world, though.
Okay.
There
So-
you go. So how
so-
can we have weight in the atmosphere? Take as long as you want.
I'm
mate.
not. How can we have weight? We have an acceleration field.
No, but you've just
he
completely
didn't listen
missed
to
the whole
Adam.
point.
Yeah, he didn't listen to Adam. So what you're referring to this Newtonian downward force? Yeah, gas expands in all directions, and that's not how you attribute weight. Also, you've got it in a container, and the container is measuring the pressure, the force over the area of the container.
I'm talking about a scale at the bottom of the container.
Oh,
that you
really? Well,
place
the problem with that
actual container
scale
on.
is that it only accounts for one vector, and gas expands in all directions. Do you not understand how gas works? Do you not
Unless a
understand?
force
Sorry, you've just said I only account for the bit on the scale. And I'm asking you, do not appreciate that it expands in all directions? Otherwise you wouldn't have that very thin air at the top of Everest. Because it'd never go up, would it? It'd only be going down towards your scale.
It only expands in all area or in all directions if there's nothing acting upon it.
Right.
Oh, God.
So the fact that there's a gradient means there's something acting upon it.
No, it means
Given your
that
primitive-
no. That means the gas is being produced at ground level. It's just
Yes.
thinner at the top as it makes its way up.
Because we know
Yeah,
it's
but it
not
would
gravity.
expand
We know
in all
Yeah.
directions.
Expands in all directions, so not just down then. So let's not worry about just measuring the bit when it hits the ground, because it also goes up. So what does it hit when it gets to the sky vacuum to press? What's the area it's pressing on when it gets to the sky vacuum?
Nothing.
And no, it has to press on something
There's a
to have
bias
press.
towards
It
down.
has. No, that's not a decent answer. It's not the time for you to talk. Can't press on nothing. You've just explained it needs an area.
For a pressure measurement.
Yeah, for a pressure to exist, you need an area for it to press on. And I'm saying gas expands in all directions, not just down. What's it pressing on at the top, where there's claimed to be a vacuum?
So you're saying 1 foot in front of my face, there's no pressure?
Excuse me. At the top, where you guys think the sky is actually a vacuum, a vast area for the gas to expand into, and given that you've accepted that gas would need to press on an area to be a pressure, what's it pressing on when it gets to the vacuum? You've said nothing. That doesn't work. It actually violates natural law. Second law of thermodynamics, entropy still exists, mate. The gas would want to expand to fill the volume. That's a law of nature. So when I ask what's it pressing on the top and you say nothing, no, that's a violation of natural law. Your sky vacuum that it's not pressing on. That doesn't work, mate. Gas doesn't just stop. It would expand into that vacuum, mate, because there's nothing there, as you rightly point out.
Unless it has weight.
So we're back to just saying if I only measure the downward bit of the gas that's expanding in all directions, I can say that the gas that made its way up to the top of Everest is actually going down. No, it made its way up to the top of Everest, mate. Not down, up. So what, just going to weigh the stuff at the bottom? No, it's still gas. It's still expanding in all directions. It still needs to press to have pressure. And according to you, it's not pressing on anything at the top, where there's a vast area for it to expand into. As it continues up, it made its way from the ground to the top of Everest and can continue up forever if the sky was a vacuum. But it's not, because we're all breathing.
Unless it has weight.
So we're back to the circle jerk. Round and round we go with him saying, let's ignore that gas is going up to the top of Everest, giving us a gradient. He's going to ignore that and say, I'm only measuring the gas that hits the scale. The fact that it hits it and fucks off back upwards, I'm gonna ignore.
There's a downward bias.
A downward bias to the gas that's going up to the top of Everest. No, it's not biased downward. It's going up.
Can I explain something to you?
No, you can accept that the gas that's going up towards the top of Everest is on a merry journey upwards. It hasn't got a downward bias. Are you cognitively incapable of recognising that when gas is going up, it's not got a downward bias?
Nathan, let me have him for a minute. I just
Why?
No,
I'm
let
killing
him
him.
go. He's dead.
I know he's dead. I just want to kill him again.
My goodness, this guy thinks
Riley
the
likes playing
scale-
with his food.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
guy-
I want to kill him again, Nathan. Permission to
This
kill him
guy-
again.
This guy
Okay,
thinks
For the
fine.
kilogram.
No worries. I'll shout out a couple of super
this-
chats and then you can kill him again. Stamp on his head, do whatever you need to do to his corpse. Right, MC Universe, Sacred Truth Keeper. I will get your name right once, I promise. Smoke in your ride. Okay. Open windows, drive. Does the car's gravity hold the smoke inside the car? Lol. Right on, MC Universe, Sacred Truth Keeper. Very good super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Also, 5 Angels, who says, force over infinite area equals pink elephant. Thank you very much indeed for your super chat. Really appreciate it. Okay, Anthony, I'll calm down. You go ahead.
I just want the opposite. 3 questions, unorthodox. You said, and I'm quoting your words here. You said there's a downward bias, right? Bearing in mind that Newton's first law states that an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by a force being the key word in this instance. What do you define as this downwards bias that you are slowing the molecule that's rapidly escaping at 600 meters per second? What is this force that you ascribe to a bias to?
An acceleration field.
An acceleration field. Does it have a name, or are we just going to magic one out of thin air?
Well, you know, I was trying to get around talking about gravity, but
Yeah.
an acceleration field.
You know
aka
why,
gravity.
don't you? Because it's not a force, in it. So if you're going to say there's a downwards bias, right, and it's a force because it needs to be according to Newton's first law, but it's not a force that you can say the G word for because you know it's not a force, then what is the other force then? Because if it's not G, it has to be some other force. And I'm
It's
going to
G.
assert you don't have one, and therefore there is no bias.
No, he does have one. He's got G. He explained that at the beginning of your back and forth with him. So he is
Oh, did
using
you?
G,
I
Anthony.
must have said- So the G is gravity then? I thought you said you were trying to avoid saying that.
I was trying to avoid saying it, but it's still my ultimate explanation is there's an acceleration field, aka gravity.
So
but
your ultimate explanation then is gravity a force, unorthodox?
gravity is an acceleration field.
So
otherwise known as
an
a
atom
force.
decelerates because of an uneven force against an unbalanced force being applied against it, right? And you're saying that that's gravity. Is that unbalanced force that's slowing the molecule down? Is that a force, unorthodox?
Yes, I mean it ultimately is a force.
No, gravity's not a force.
No.
Unorthodox.
Oh man, he doesn't understand
Not
his
been a
own
force for
religion. Go on, get the last word,
Right,
Anthony.
I'm done.
Okay, with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Because it's the same arguments over
But yeah,
and
that's
over
my
again.
argument is just super simple. I think
Super,
anybody that's
super
listening can
simple.
understand.
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Super simple. Gas has weight.
You lost. Why do you think that suddenly you've got to be the person with verbal diarrhea here? You lost. Shut up. Sit down. Listen to the people educating you about how your religion's wrong.
So
Are
this
you
guy-
giving us a summary of how you lost this interaction, unorthodox?
Dead man flailing.
I think Hang on, we need to ask him, does he realise he lost? Because if he doesn't realise he's lost...
No, don't
You're
ask
asking
him
a
anymore.
decapitated man. What you're witnessing is a dead man twitching. It's just involuntary. He's already been decapitated, and you're saying, let's go up to his head and ask him if he knows he's dead.
I want him to realise he's dead. He doesn't seem to realise anything. He thinks his twitching, his involuntary twitching, is actually a state of being alive.
Yeah, but that's your mistake.
Maybe it is.
It's like Riley. It's like Riley trying to take the pulse of the dead man while kicking him. He's
like
still
bloody-
taking the pulse.
You may be taking the zombie concept a little bit too literally here.
So Anthony, he would have you believe if you have a scale, say in your house, it's not on zero because all the gases here at ground level are pressing on it, so it's got to show some weight. But how come that scale is at zero? But if you go take
It's
an empty propane tank, you take an empty propane
Calibrate.
tank.
Do you
and
know what a
put it-
manometer is?
Why don't you just talk? I thought you were dead.
He is dead.
I'm
He's
not
still
dead.
twitching. He's not quite dead yet.
Maybe he's mostly
I mean,
dead.
do you know what a manometer
Mostly
is?
dead.
You measure pressure.
He's only mostly dead.
He's not quite dead, but we can think of him as dead.
You know what? It's
damn
real
it.
simple. No, it's real simple. When you fill an empty tank of propane, it gets heavy. But if you don't fill it and there's no gas in it, it's not heavy. And those molecules that are pressing against tight make the weight. But if you release it, it goes everywhere. And you just admitted to that in your example of having a container to have your gravity. So we're asking
Yeah, but
you.
it doesn't remove.
in your-
It doesn't
in
remove
your-
weight, though.
Wait a minute, I thought
Just
you were
because you
dead.
expel them, doesn't remove the property of weight from them.
It does. It does. If you haven't got the container, mate, you haven't got any weight. That's the point.
If the only way you could weigh them is in a container,
Then you would have
which
no
is what
pressure.
you said.
Wait,
He's conceding. Go ahead. He would have no what?
You would have no pressure on Earth if the gas molecules had no weight.
Right? And you need a container to have weight.
Hello?
No.
Duh.
Yeah?
Duh.
What do you mean, no? This is why he's a flailing dead man. That's your example you gave us. You moron. That's your.
Yeah,
what do you mean,
I'm not
no? No? What, my entire half-hour spiel about putting it in a container's not right? Yeah, you mean yes, just wrong, not no.
Totally.
Yeah, dead man walking.
I mean, so in order for your argument to be correct, there would have to be no pressure. So you're saying once you expel the molecules from the container, so we compress the atmosphere into a container, once we expel it back out, it then has no weight. Well, then that means there would be no pressure.
No shit. So if we don't have a container, we wouldn't have pressure. I'm going to trim that sentence out and ram it down your throat every single time you're here. So you finally get it? Without the container, there can be no pressure. Correct. Ergo, the sky is not a vacuum.
Never said that.
I'm saying it as a direct consequence of what you've just expressed. So without the container, there can be no pressure. That's what you've just expressed. You're saying if there wasn't one, the gas would dissipate. You'd have no pressure. Yeah, no shit. That's our entire argument. But you're claiming you've got gas pressure without a container. Why? Well, because when I put it in a container, I can weigh it.
Demonstrating it has weight.
Wake
in
up,
terms of,
unorthodox.
in terms of weighing stuff, but a gas in a container, you can't. Most fundamentally, because they don't express weight. You do get some containment, and you get an increase in collision rate, which some will express as weight. But the reason it tends to attribute to weight is because you put it into this semi-fluid state where it does start to express weight. But if you're going to just take a gas, for example, and wanted to determine its the amount of molecule weight or as it's probably correctly determined to distinguish its molecular mass, the mass of molecules in there. And the only way you do it correctly isn't by containing it and putting it on scales, because that won't work. You have to basically take the volume of gas, make sure you know the temperature and the pressure, and then use the ideal gas laws to back work it. It's a calculation if you're going to do it. It's not a measurement.
Well, I think he's being disingenuous on the Jedi level. Only reason I say that is because I've sat here and listened to the show for about an hour, and as you guys were going back and forth, I don't remember him mentioning the word pressure at all, up until he just tried to explain how a thermometer works.
Manometer.
Whatever. He's given me the best thing he could give me. Told me that, well, based on your argument, we'd have no gas pressure. That's what he's just said to me. It's like, great. Yeah, that's correct.
So you're admitting your argument's flawed?
Hello?
No, you're done.
No. Hold on, 10th. No. I'm not arguing that the sky is a vacuum. You are. And you're explaining that based on needing a container, if you didn't have that, you'd have no pressure. That was your, admittedly phrased towards me like I'm defending a sky vacuum. Now, you seem to be cognitively wired, when you lose, to flip your losing argument like I'm presenting an argument for the sky vacuum. I'm not. You are. And by your own admission, the gas would fill the space. Now, when I pointed out that the gas filling the space would debunk the sky being a vacuum, your response was, I'm not saying that. No, it's a logical deduction based on your admission that we wouldn't have any gas pressure if there was nothing to press on.
All right, so let me explain something to you.
You don't need to explain anything to me. Your explanations when you've told me that you're goofing off and don't understand and need clarity, while you're in the middle of a diatribe of explanation based on something you need clarity for, or are goofing around about, we don't know because you're a blatant liar about one or the other. You don't need to educate me, my friend. Don't be so arrogant having had your ass handed to you to presume you need to educate me.
So let me
Let me stutter, think of another way of rephrasing I'll educate you now.
Let me explain
Stop
something.
trolling.
No!
Don't
You
explain.
don't get to do that, you dick! While you've explained stuff for about half an hour solid, you've later confessed to not understanding, whilst explaining something you don't understand, or goofing off, because you're just having a joke here. But what, now we should all pay attention while you educate us? No!
Well, let me explain to you what
No!
when we say this.
Shut up, I'm going to kick him out. Say let me tell you something once more and I'll kick you out, you dick. No, you don't
him
get to
out.
tell us anything. You've lost. You've just demonstrated yourself a fool, and you're not going to get to educate us, fool. We don't want to hear what you've got to say about anything, fool. How dare you try and educate us, you fool.
Okay, gas has weight. End of story.
Oh, what, gas can press down? Yeah, it can also press up. What's it pressing on up
End
in
of
the
story.
sky vacuum?
End of story.
Yeah, it's time to rumpus. Yeah, you made your declaration of your fundy belief. I'm rebutting it again for about the 10th time this show. And you're talking over me. The fundy fuckwit who's a fool is telling me what's what while I rebut his claim. Your gas can press down on a scale. Yeah, I'll concede that. Yeah, you can put a scale out and pretend that the gas is pressing on it and giving you a value. But then it bounces off upwards, doesn't it?
Gas has weight, man.
So then it bounces, so you're going to just totally ignore a rebuttal, Mr. I can educate you, but can't listen to a rebuttal. Yeah, it bounces off the scale, gives you your weight down. Then it goes up, doesn't it? It's bounced off upwards.
Yeah, it has a downward bias called weight.
Yeah, we've just
I
said
think you
that.
guys can
I've just
understand it.
conceded that. Are you deaf? Yeah. So it's going to bounce off the scale and give you a weight. When it bounces off, it goes up, doesn't it? Are you incapable of listening, conceding, and understanding a simple fact that in order for a molecule that's free and unbonded to hit the scale, to give you weight, it's then going to bounce off in the opposite direction. You're not going to concede this, religious fundy? Or what, time for you to educate me? Or talk over me? While I point out, for about the 5th consecutive time, that it's going to go up after it's gone down to give you your weight that I'm letting you have.
No shit.
So it's going up. So it's going to go up. What's it bounce off when it gets to the top so that it can come back down to give you your weight?
Are we talking about in like a pressurized container that we're...
Oh, so we're immediately needing a container for you to answer this question then?
Well, I was just wondering if you're talking about Earth or that you're talking about the container that we set on the scale.
I don't care, mate. I'm just talking about gas. Are you suddenly trying to figure out whether or not you need to juxtapose this with your religious belief about what Earth does and point at your fundy belief in a sky vacuum to answer the question? I'm not going to allow you to do that. Yeah, none of these answers are going to be tolerable with a fundamentalist religious belief about what the sky does, mate. Now, that's not going to wash. I'm just talking about gas hitting a scale to give you a weight so that you don't parrot it 5 more times. Even after I've given it, you still do that. But then it's going up, and I've asked what it hits at the top. Because if it doesn't hit something in the top, it's just going to carry on going, isn't it?
Unless it has weight.
No, it's hit the scale and is going up. Not are you thick? Are you thick? Wait, have I got to get you to concede this 17 times? That after it went down, it then went up? And you're going to continually say it's still going down? Are you retarded? Do I have to make you concede 16 more times that it's going to go up afterwards? You conceded it, and now you're back to your religious down thing. When it's going back up, we've gone past it giving you your weight. And I'm trying to establish if that particular bit of gas bounces off and disappears forever or comes back down to be reweighed. Do we lose it?
I haven't
Yeah,
tracked
you need
a
to
single
lose the weight,
molecule,
buddy.
so I couldn't tell you. But I could tell you the aggregate volume of gas.
Sorry, so you couldn't tell me what happens when it goes up? We're trying to establish your fundy belief in a sky vacuum, but you can't tell me. Well, what on earth makes you think the sky's a vacuum then?
Well, can you repeat yourself? What did you just say before Nathan answered you? You said something about the gas molecules heading up from Earth where the gravity is the strongest, and then doing what?
Well, there's a downward force, so...
They're going up! It doesn't seem to matter how many bloody times I say this. Downward force, what are you talking about? It hits the scale, then it goes up.
Yes, it has weight, so it would be...
No, not weight! Down is weight! Up is not weight! You're not weighing something going up! Oh, it's just my bad. Everything must be going down. Because he's got a religious belief in everything going down with gravity. So even when it's going up, he must say it's going down. It's got downward... No, it's not got a downward vector. It's not got a downward bias. It's not got a downward force. It's going up!
Yeah, just like if I bounce a bouncy ball, it's going to bounce.
Oh, no, that would be a mass of a solid now, wouldn't it? Not gas that's free to move unbonded in all directions. No. The ball would be physically more dense than the air we're describing. But no, this little false equivalence red herring ain't going to wash neither. We're not talking about balls that have got mass that you can put on a scale. No! Air, you fool! How stupid are you?
That's basically what atoms are, little balls that have weight.
Oh, really? So I can put a molecule of air on a scale and it will stay there? Or will it bounce off and go up? We are going to have to do this 16 times then. While you continually deny that the gas is going up. See, it just seems strange that the fundies one day want to talk all about the gradient. That's all they ever want to bloody talk about. Now this fundy wants to deny that the gas is going to make its way to Everest. Because apparently it's got a downward bias. When it's going up.
We're talking about the aggregate, Nathan, not...
Aggregate? What the fuck? It's going up.
Yeah, one molecule.
Oh yeah, that's the one molecule that's unbonded to the rest that we're weighing, mate.
Look, I'm pretty much done. I think...
Yeah, you are. You're fucked. You can't win here. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. You saying, oh no, I've lost badly, I'm done here. Yeah, we know. You died about half an hour ago. You're
Yeah, and
flailing.
now
You're
you're
getting me
and now you're
frustrated.
cooked and you're done. That's right.
I think this is so simple, even you guys can understand it. Gas has weight.
Look,
It's just
Yeah,
as simple as that.
can I maybe address it? Because I think I know the point you're trying to make. What you're trying to imply is that it still is subject to a downward gravitational force, even though after a collision, it's in one case one's going up and one's going down. Now, that could be proven to demonstrate a gravitational force if though after that elastic collision, the molecules repelled at different speeds. So the one went down was subject to an acceleration. The one went up was subject to a deceleration because of this force. But we do know that within elastic collisions of gas molecules, it's exactly the same. There is no difference. They come in with what they go out with. So that would imply there is no weight attributed to gas molecules. The only thing you get in terms of definition is a religious assertion, in that gases are made of molecules. Molecules have mass. Mass times a gravitational field gives weight. Therefore, gas molecules have to have a weight, even though it's not demonstrable. It's only supported by a religious assertion that weight is composed of mass times a gravitational field. But there's nothing to back it up other than your fundamental belief.
And with that, I will say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!